one of our long Alice Penn. Welcome, Alice.
Hi, Elle. Thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, here's the deal, y'all. Although Dr. Alice, I'll just say Alice, has been a part of our community, gosh, is it 3 years, 4 years?
I think it's coming up for nearly 2, so about a
Two.
solid 2 years.
This is what's crazy. I feel like it's been so long because you were probably one of the most active members of our community.
I was about to say it's because you see me a lot. My face is popping up everywhere. That's why it feels like 4 years, but it's 2.
Which I love. And, because I haven't done a lot, we haven't really worked together really at all in the time that you've been with us. However, we've engaged with each other and, quite honestly, if I haven't seen you be so active in the community, I probably would be really intimidated by you. In the sense of not because you're an intimidating person, but I think you're so accomplished and so intelligent and just the stuff you put out, I just she's brilliant that I'm God, it blows my mind. And so I really wanted to take this time today to get to know you better and to share what you do with the world, because I do think you're really one of those unique people who has a background where it's from 2 different worlds that you would never expect merging together. And so for y'all to know, I'm just going to give y'all a high level background of Alice, but ultimately she's a speaker, a coach, and founder of Success RX, which I think is super interesting. But prior to ever getting into this world of entrepreneurship, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a neuroplastician, a medical doctor?
So I was a medical doctor, and then I went into finance, and then we can talk a little bit about my story, but I got into neuroscience, and now I know a lot about neuroplasticity, and it's a kind of special interest and what I bring to some of my work.
Yeah, so let's start there. How did you go from a clinical practitioner, a doctor, to corporate finance? How does that work?
So it might just be useful just to know a little bit of where I grew up. My parents were really high achievers, lots of degrees. My father, medical doctor. I was the eldest daughter in the family. So it was no surprise that there was some expectations about a level of performance. And I did do really well at school. And when I got to the end of school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with myself. And I decided, being the sort of perfectionist type A personality that I was going to go to medical school. Got through medical school, but pretty much early on, I did have this sense that I'm not sure if this is the right thing for me, but I just kept persevering, getting all the way through, and our training and houseman years, registrar, all the residency years. And then I moved to the UK. And when I arrived in London, I actually took that time, because I was living in South Africa, to think about perhaps doing something different. But then I was offered a place in a brilliant practice in the financial district. And I tell this because it shows the link of how I got into finance. And we had a really successful private practice in the city. And I was becoming increasingly involved in the business side of things and doing quite a lots of pitches and presentations. And I started to realize there's this whole other side of me that I'm not using in my work. And this led me to start exploring, well, is it not possible for me to do something different? And through a series of events, I made this big career transition to the world of corporate finance. And, then there's another story to take me to where I am today. But it was really coming from a place of, I don't feel like I'm making the most of who I really am, all of my natural strengths. I feel that I have got more to give. Sure, my life looks good on paper, but I feel that, that I have got more to give, and I'd like to figure out how I can make the most of my sort of more natural gifts and strengths.
Yeah. How did your parents handle that?
They actually handled it pretty well.
Yeah.
I think my mum knew when I went into medicine, she thought, are you just doing this because of your father and because this sort of looks good? Or is this really right for you? I think my dad was probably a little bit disappointed, but he won't really ever say. But yes, from such a medical family to make a big change, I think they did think it was a little bit crazy at the time.
What was that a scary jump for you? Or was it more of I'm excited and I'm doing this?
Look, at the time, I had a lot going on in my personal life, and I just knew that I wasn't in the right place. I'd had some challenges in my marriage. I was really feeling every morning when I got up to go to work that I was pushing myself into, sort of square peg round hole. I was really forcing myself to make the most of my work environment every day. And don't get me wrong, I will be forever grateful for all the patients that I had and amazing experiences that, I would never want to lose. But I just knew that for me as an individual, there was something else out there for me. It was a little bit daunting, but I was actually really excited because as soon as I knew that I had secured this new role, I was just thought, this is amazing. I'm going to learn so many new things. I'm going to meet new people, work in a different way, not so much on your own, more with a team. I'm going to be able to get out there and continue to learn and grow and develop. And I think that was what was missing for me in medicine. I felt quite stuck and like, is this it?
Yeah, that's funny. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who's in corporate finance right now, and they're just like, I just feel stuck and like unfulfilled. So it's really interesting how many people deal with that, but then never do anything about it.
Exactly.
So you went into corporate finance. I think you spent a decade doing corporate finance?
Yeah, just under sort of 9 years.
Okay. And then you went from that to let me go start my own business?
Yeah. So I loved my finance career. I worked for an amazing group of people. I had amazing mentors and bosses, and I did well. But these problems that I've been experiencing in my marriage from the years before, we hadn't quite resolved it. And things started to get increasingly difficult to manage and actually impacted me quite badly in terms of my mental health, which impacted my physical health. And I landed up in a place where I actually needed to just take some time out. So in that time, unfortunately, my marriage did fall apart, but I decided to go back to South Africa for a little bit just to be closer to my family while I went through my separation and my divorce. And I went back to South Africa, and then COVID happened not long after that. But in my time, in my sort of downtime back home, closer to my family, it allowed me to reevaluate, what do I really want to do? Do I want to continue in this corporate world? And again, I had this feeling, I think that I would like to have a different sort of an impact on people. I've always been, been in the sort of helping professions, and even in my role in finance, I did a lot of mentorship. And I felt that that feeling of I've still got something more to give. There's some sort of impact I'd like to make. And that led me to trying to figure out, how can I bring these two worlds together, and how can I help people in a different but meaningful way? And that took me to where I am today.
Got it. So you jumped into, I'm going to marry the two things here. And I'm going to start. Did you start coaching, or did you start in consulting, or how did you start? Like, what was I guess if you made that decision, I'm going to do my own thing and build my own business, where did you start?
Well, actually, this is where Brand Builders came in for me. So,
okay.
Really literally early. at that stage in my point, because here I was back in South Africa. I just turned 40, which is a rather pivotal moment, and especially in women's life, I feel. And actually, I woke up. I always tell a story in some of my talks about waking up on my 40th birthday, finding myself in my childhood bedroom. And what that was kind of a decision, like, right, it's time for me to figure out what I want to do and build my life. So I used to take all of these long walks and listen to podcasts next to the sea where we live in South Africa. And I was walking and listening to this podcast, and I heard this man who we now all know is Rory Vaden saying, you are best placed to serve the person you once were. And, for a few months before that, I've been thinking, I just want to start a business. And I was looking at different products, from dog food to all sorts of things and ideas, thinking, what can I do? I like coffee. What could I do with coffee? All these sort of random ideas. And I actually also did an exercise that I now do with a lot of my clients around helping people begin to see what their strengths are. And a lot of the feedback that I'd had from this exercise that I did on myself were people telling me, whatever you do, you need to be out there, up in front, the face of your business. And at the time, I think my confidence was low after my divorce. I thought, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Let me get behind a different product so I don't have to be out there. But when I heard Rory say, you are best placed to serve the person you once were, it got me thinking, right, what have I been through? What challenges have I faced? Yes, I've made these big career transitions, and I've also, been successful in my professional path. I've also been through some personal changes. I've had to overcome things in my health. there must be some way of marrying this all together. And that's actually when I began my journey with Brand Builders, really, when I still wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And it led me down the path of trying to help people do some of the similar things that I've done and create a program. And it's kind of grown from there. It's changed a lot over time, but that's the sort of genesis of how it all came together.
Got it. So from medical doctor, corporate finance, to now going, my life is at a pivotal moment. I'm turning 40, just got through a divorce. I need to figure out what I want the rest of my life to look like.
Exactly.
I want to sell dog food or coffee. No, I'm just kidding. I want to start my own business. I hear this guy on the podcast, let me reach out. Now I'm curious because a lot of people, as you know, I'm the one who does a lot of those like discovery calls with clients or potential clients. And every so often, we'll get people coming on who want to start something brand new and they don't really know what it looks like. And they feel like they can go do it on their own, right? And so it's like, because they're not clear, even though we can tell them how many times that's our job to help them get clear, because they're not clear and they want to it's a gamble, it's a big it's not a huge investment, but it's a big investment, right? To get started, but they don't. And so I'm curious, what made you go, I am going to partner with this company. And I am, even if I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to take this action and I'm going to make the commitment, not just with money, but your time and your energy and your resources. What was that moment for you where you made that decision? Why did you choose that?
I think it's because I knew that I had to make some sort of change. I did not want to go back to corporate. So number one, I was taking it seriously. This wasn't just a hobby or some sort of fling fun idea. It was like, if I'm going to do this, I think back to my sort of perfectionist tendencies, I'm going to do this properly. And I think I'm not naive. I am not naive. And when I worked in finance, in a very commercial world, that there are people who've gone before you and they know what they're doing. And it may be an investment, but it's going to shorten your learning curve a huge amount. So for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer. If I'm serious about this, if I actually want to get something off the ground, I need to find out from the people who clearly know what they're doing. And, I sort of consumed as much of the free materials as I could and then realized, okay, I think this, and I tried quite a few things before that, but this made me feel like, right, this is not just fluffy. There's actually a system, a strategy, something that I can follow. I'm a bit of a recipe person, or if I buy a new product, I read the instructions. So I'm quite methodical. So when I saw the process and the method, I thought, okay, this is not just sitting and talking. This is actually getting work done. And that's one of the things that really appealed to me.
So knowing that you, again, literally started from scratch, didn't even know what you were going to do, didn't really know what your brand was going to be called, didn't know what problem you were solving. You kind of knew who you were serving, right? Let's talk about it. So it's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
What's the progress you've made? Because, I know you have been speaking and I saw your website, the visual branding is so beautiful and so well done. I don't know if my Alexa is now talking to me. I don't know if you hear this.
No, I can't. I only hear you.
I don't know why. She just started going off. But you've put together a whole entire coaching program. You've done events, you've done retreats. There's a lot that you've been doing. And so talk about what has this journey looked like for you and what are the big, what do you feel like is the progress you've made?
So I must say that obviously, I think most entrepreneurs would identify that there are ups and downs. So sometimes you can have months where things feel like the trajectory is great, and then you might slow down a little bit. I think some of it has come from it being a really iterative process for me. So I had to sort of take the plunge. I'm bringing together these two different worlds. I don't know quite how I'm going to do it. I've just got to start somewhere. So, and in that process, I actually started off just by testing out with people, what do people really need? So I really spent quite a lot of time. What what do my audience really need, and working with them actually for free to start with. I had a bit of a cushion that I could figure out. I had a bit of time on my side financially. So I worked with people for free for a while to actually develop my program and test things out. And from that was really great because I got testimonials and I got referrals, and to sort of, to see what works and what doesn't. And out of that, I think one of the most important things that I got, especially of working with your team, was developing my content. So actually putting that structure around my program, the different modules or different chapters, and the frameworks that I've created. So how I speak about what I do and make how I deliver, make it my own and make it unique. And that has really changed how I've done everything. So I have been quite active in getting out there and podcasts and speaking about what I do. And when you have your content so clearly mapped out in your mind, when you're out there in a public forum, you can really be clear and have more impact when you talk about what you do. So for me, that really increased my trajectory really quite fast. So I started to be quite active in looking for referrals and getting some one-to-one coaching clients. And obviously there are some ups and downs in the process, but my focus really has been the one-to-one for now. And then I've been building a bit more of my childhood dream, which is the speaking. And over time, one of the key things that has happened is I've really begun to lean more into my uniqueness, which I've come to realize is a lot around the science of change and the neuroscience, because that is really what helped me overcome specifically my personal challenges, but really have helped me in my life overall. So I'm including that in a lot more of my speaking. It underpins a lot of the work that I do, and I'm becoming known for, yes, that's the person who does all this sort of neuroscience angle to her coaching and her speaking, to helping people understand how their brains work and the science of change and understanding how to really make change. So it took time and it took iterations, but as soon as I started noticing that people have begun to realize that that's the thing that I do, that's when new doors have been opening. I think Rory will call it Sheehan's Wall. It just started happening for me in the last few months, and that's really changed.
Well, the thing is too, what's awesome about it is you have the credibility to back it up, right? I want to go into in a second of like who you actually are best positioned to work with and like who you want to serve. But one of the things that I appreciate about you is, after having 2 successful careers going into this, even though you had a runway financially, I think there's several people out there that go, I've earned the right to be paid. I've done the work. I have the expertise. I have more expertise than people out there getting paid, but you still chose to do it for free. So you can get the reps in, so you can get the testimonials, the referrals, to figure it out. Was that a hard decision for you, or was it a no-brainer? And like, what would you say to people that are struck? Like, yes, there's a point of like, I need money coming in. I get that. That's not everyone. But what would you say to people that are going, I don't want to do this for free. I've been doing it for free, within my company or whatever it might be. How did you make that decision?
I think some of it came from my experience of knowing that sometimes you just got to take a bit of a risk, not feel completely ready. I mean, it does come down to the science of change. If you want to see big change, you actually have to take sometimes some courageous steps. So I didn't know, most people when that I meet, when they're starting their entrepreneur journey, they don't really know what the business is going to look like long term. Almost everyone I meet, it's changing all the time. So at some stage, you just have to say, I just need to get out there and try something, right?
Wow.
So I think for me, because I had done that before in medicine, it was a big risk leaving medicine and doing something completely new. I could have not done very well in it. I could have, job security when we're in and out of recessions in the world of finance isn't always great. There were lots of risks involved. But I knew that when you take a risk, you can get great rewards. So for me, I already knew that intrinsically, but I would say that I would often even advise my own clients, you don't have to do a lot of free work for a long time, but I do think it serves you to test things out with your audience before you, because it's not necessarily about the money. It's just about if you really want to offer the best possible product or service, I believe it's worth putting a little bit of time into tweaking it and getting it right, or at least start with, if you're not comfortable charging nothing, start with a slightly lower offer, a lower offer, and say, listen, this is a beta test, but in exchange for this great deal, I'm looking for testimonials, I'm looking for referrals, and that's another way in. So that's another technique. So once I'd done a few for free, then I did a few of those, and then I felt like, right, I'm in a good place too. I know my worth. I know what this program does. I've got results, so I feel more comfortable pricing it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Sure, I was gonna say there's something we said. That'll come by me. How did you decide on the coaching model? Like,
I literally went to, what did I do? And let me figure this out for other people. What were the steps that I took? So I knew that part of it started with mindset. I knew that a lot of it was about getting unstuck, was about saying, I've always only got to here, with my feeling that, you've got this, that you've got more potential within you, but I keep getting stuck at a certain point. How do I actually break through that? How do I have the courage to take a little bit of a risk and try something new and something different? What self-limiting beliefs do I need to challenge to actually break through? And I personally had used a lot of neuroscience techniques to begin to approach my day differently, think about myself differently. And I started to, as the foundation of my program, I really use those techniques. And then we get into, okay, so what are your real natural strengths? What are your God-given gifts? And how can we bring that to your work? How can we begin to build more purpose into what you do, so that you are really making an impact, as well as making the most of your strengths and doing it in a way that's meaningful and leaves you feeling fulfilled. So my program really just comes from what worked for me, and then what worked for the first few clients that I worked with. And I still, to this day, Elle, I will tweak it. I think actually there's this section that people are asking about. They need it. Like, I recently introduced a section on communication, because people keep asking me, how would I have this sort of a conversation? Or what do you think will work well if I, so you start to notice, okay, people are struggling in this area. Let me craft something that helps them. The more you get to know your clients, the better your program gets.
That's so good. Would you mind, so when you're talking about, like, I do it with a neuro twist to it, right? So, like, I start my morning today with Joe Dispenza. So, like, to me, I'm like, is this kind of what you're talking about? So would you mind share, and you can say no, but would you mind sharing like a quick technique that you use with clients?
So actually, one of the things that I do a lot comes from a combination of Joe Dispenza and other people. I probably just speak about it maybe perhaps in a different way, but I actually, if it's okay, just to tell a brief story of Viktor Frankl, who many people know. At the start of World War II, he was working, I think he was actually already a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, and a neurologist. And when he and his family were sort of taken into the camps, and he lost his wife, he lost his entire family, and he was at Auschwitz at the end. But at the start of the war, he was writing a book, and he had this manuscript which he hid on him the whole way through. And the Nazi guards found it and destroyed it, and it nearly destroyed him. But what he had learned in his time in the camps, because he was interested in psychology and the brain and how people operated, was that the people who were surviving usually had a very clear idea of their future selves. So in this moment that he was, could have been broken, he was thinking, no, who am I? I am Viktor Frankl, who has published this book. I'm a best-selling author. I live in Vienna. And that is who I am. And he lived the rest of his time in the camps as that person. So also, if you read Atomic Habits, which I think everybody has by now, he'll talk about, well, if you want to get fit, you can't wait to get fit, to start to think, feel, and act like a fit person. You need to begin now. So what I explain to my clients is a little bit around the neuroscience of how our neurons, you'll hear that they wire together and fire together. So the things that we do on repeat, for better or worse, are hardwired into our brains. And that hardwiring never really goes away. So you have to be really intentional. If you want change, you've got to say, I need to break that hardwired loop. I've got to disrupt it. I need to do something new. I need to do something novel. I need to begin to think, feel, and act in a different way. We also know with the brain that visualization is really, really so close to actually performing something, in person. So we know pianists, they can visualize a piece over and over again, and they can wake up in the morning and that tricky part has become easier. So what I'll do is I'll bring together the idea of this future you and the visualization. And I spend, my clients enjoy, they spend a bit of time. Maybe they even do a mood board or anything that suits them, but who is this future them? What is it like waking up every morning? What do they drink? Who are they with? What's around them? Where do they live? Just get into the details of their environment. And what does it feel like to be that person? So to start to tap into the emotions. And that is a lot of the Joe Dispenza. So actually, hey, when I'm Alice on her tropical island in my beautiful home with my family, and I can smell the sea salt, and I've got this amazing cup of coffee or whatever it is, how do I feel? Well, I feel amazing, and I feel full of gratitude and joy and abundance and hope. And just for a few minutes every morning, just to close your eyes and really visualize being this person. How does it feel? The truth is, Elle, I did this in the time during my divorce when I was at a really low point. My mental health, physical health, I was in a terrible state. I did this every morning for a few months, and it changed my life. It was the best part of my day. I couldn't wait to do it every morning. I felt so great, but everything started changing in my life because I was rewiring up new pathways, feeling and thinking a way that I hadn't done for years. So, and then you can take that into your day. So when you're feeling stuck or you're getting in a slump, you can just tap into that feeling. And what does that future you do? You can say to yourself, future you is standing in this queue. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to get angry with the people that are slowing you down, or does future you behave in a different way? So these are the kind of techniques, and they are based in neuroscience that my clients, I try and get them to incorporate when they're going through change, because change is hard. So it's good to have these tools.
Well, selfishly, so I'm a insert myself here. Yesterday, right? So I start my morning similar. And I was out of it. I was traveling all summer, which I did all summer. Then when I came back to Nashville, it's been really hard for me to get back to it, but started again. Very similar. There's actually a house across the street that I want to buy, but I don't want to sell this one yet. So like working through those details, and I was picturing myself putting my Christmas wreath on that door and all this stuff. But rewind, yesterday, had the best morning doing this, open up my email, and there was like 3 issues that none of it had to do with me, but I had to handle, right? And I was just grumpy about it. Like I got real out of frequency fast. And then I get on a call with Rory, and he was like, how are you? And I'm like, I was great till I opened my email this morning. And he's like, well, tell me something good. I'm like, my morning was incredible. And I did da-da-da-da. So how do you coach people? So I'm just diving in here. When that happens, right? Like you're in the frequency, you're visualizing, you feel good, you feel it in your body, like you have this mindset, and then life shows up and hits you in the face, and you're just going, don't want to deal with this right now.
I mean, the thing is this, that morning route, that's visualization exercise, which isn't for everybody, but you know, it can really start to shift. It's basically practicing thinking, feeling, and acting a different way. That's and creating those new pathways. But we all know that feeling isn't going to last. But what I try and explain to people is that's normal. It's not meant to. Okay, this is just you. You want to get fit. You run. You go for a jog. You know, you build up slowly, but you are going to have things come across your path that are going to throw you off course, and that's okay. And actually, one of the things that I got from, I think Oprah used to talk about Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. And he talks about, which is another book that I found really helpful in my life, when you, if you picture a river that's running, if you try and put a big rock in the middle of it, and that's sort of like the emotion, trying to block for feeling a certain way, it just creates more turbulence of the water. But if you just allow the water, you don't put that big rock there and try and stop feeling a certain way, the water just passes through quickly. So for me, it's actually all about self-awareness. Like, oh, here I go again, getting worked up about these emails, and just noticing it and just feeling irritated and then moving on. And it, you get over quite quickly. But if you hold on to, so what I'll notice with my clients, I'll say, I just need to stop doing that. I just should be doing this thing. I just need to get on with it and stop feeling that way. And that is when you actually almost make it worse for yourself, beating yourself up because you haven't maintained a sort of feeling a certain way or feeling irritated. It's actually normal. Just notice it, let it pass, and it's over before it even started. It's the holding on to it that I think creates the problems.
Yeah, or making yourself wrong for
exactly.
And it's interesting because Rory instantly was like, well, tell me something good, right? Where it's like, I get it, he doesn't want to hear me bitch, complain the whole time. What was I gonna say? But I think sometimes like that behavior of like, oh, I need to find something good, then like limits that experience where it's like, no, feel it. But he was right, I needed to get over it. Like, I just did what you said your clients do. But yeah, I think that's more of like, it's okay to be irritated, be frustrated, and let it move through you, and then like move on with your day versus going, well, I gotta ignore that and whatever. So one of the first exercises that we do with clients is the avatar, right? And what's funny is that's another thing when people come onto these calls with me is they go, I've done the avatar exercise a million times. I don't want to do this again, right? And I always like to explain, like, I don't know how to say this. All I know is you haven't done it the way we do it. I feel like we go really, really deep and we're super intentional with it. So as you share, what I would love to know is like, who are you trying to serve? Like, who are you best positioned to serve? And who do you want to, send to your website or like looking at your coaching, and then also talk through like how this exercise helped you with that.
Yeah. So I'll actually start with how the exercise helped me, because a few things come to mind. I think I had done some similar exercises before, but I think because the Brand Builders ethos is so much around making an impact, serving others, it's not about you. And I think a lot of us, when we're in entrepreneur mode, we're thinking, what should I be doing now? What should I be doing with my business? And we're thinking all the time. And the way you guys approach it means that we are regularly reminded it isn't just about us, it's about who we're serving, because that's the whole point, right? There's a problem, it needs to be solved. That's how business works. Businesses solve problems. And it's the same for a personal brand. So it's not just about you and your face and what you're doing and what you'd like to be putting out there. It's actually, are you really solving the problem? And that's why the way that you focus on the audience is a little bit different to anything else that I've been through before, because even when you are working on your keynotes and your presentations, you're reminded this is not about you and your stories and standing on stage. This is about how is it going to help the people that are out there listening to you. So on that note, what my avatar at the moment, and I say at the moment because these things do shift, but really they are high achievers. Most of them, you'll find them in the traditional professions. There is a secondary group I'll chat about now, such as your doctors, your engineers, your consultants, finance professionals. Those sorts of people are my primary. Yeah. And most of them are going through some sort of transition or wanting to make some sort of transformation. It could be big, it could be small, could be going for that big promotion. It could be wanting to make a big career change. It could be about enhancing their leadership. So these are people who things, on paper look quite good, but they want to take their professional lives to the next level. And then I do have a secondary group where there are people who perhaps they were in that category before and now they have their own business. And I am helping a lot of my clients, or sort of the follow-on work would be, right, so you want to leave corporate and start your own business. So going from employed to entrepreneur. So I have some people that I have a packet, a sort of part of my a coaching package for them, and people who are already entrepreneurs, but like my professional group, are looking to level up in what they're doing, probably around leadership, that sort of thing. So anybody who is high achieving, probably ambitious person who wants to, amplify their natural strengths and really build that work life of their dreams and feel fulfilled fulfilled in what they're doing.
Yeah. What I love about you, and I think this is really important, right? It's because there are so many coaches out there. But I think for the person you're serving, what's so powerful about you is you've sat in all these seats.
Yeah.
Like, you've studied the science, right? You've lived the life of corporate. You did the transition of employee, to entrepreneur. It's like, it's not just stuff you've looked at or studied, it's you've lived it.
Yeah.
And this is what you're most passionate about. And so I think that's really unique about you. And also really valuable for anyone who's going, yeah, you know what, I kind of feel stuck, or there's something that scares me that I want to go after, but I don't know how to approach this, or I'm ready to level up. I don't know what that looks like.
Exactly.
I want to figure it out because I know where I am is not it. And so I think that that's all really, really the group of people that it's like you are so perfectly suited for. And also I'm sure they're all really grateful that you exist when they find you. I am curious, like, what would you say has been the biggest, I don't know if takeaways is the right word, or the most impactful things that you've gotten out of partnering with BBG? Like, why are you still with us? Why do you keep coming back?
Look, I think some of it has been on an emotional level for me that, I've shared already, that I was in a different place in my life. And I was looking for answers, I guess. And I think that the people are what really has made it for me. So, at the time when I met you all, I was living in Cape Town, but it didn't stop the fact that I could just dial into absolutely all of the trainings and the events. And I've made friends, and I'm part of a community. And it's that in itself has just completely revolutionized my life. I have all sorts of people I'm planning to visit across the States and elsewhere. So, that's one of the main reasons that I've stayed. But I think it's also because you're surrounded by people who are genuinely wanting to, yes, it is about profit and revenue, and there's some many very extremely successful people in BBG, but it's not just about the numbers. It is about more than that. And I think there's room for all sorts of different types of people with different approaches. And it's that kind of that mission-driven messenger that I like. So everyone is, people feel good about what they're doing, and it's not just mercenary. And I think the community probably for me has been one of the big things. It's allowed me to feel connected. Yeah.
How have you done that so well? Because, and we do have a lot of our clients, I feel like, are doing this really well, but most of them are in the States. So, the time difference when you were in Cape Town was wild. And now that you're in London, it's a lot better. But, that's something I hear even from people in the States who are like, oh, I don't know if I can take 2 days and do this event. And you were doing it in the middle of the night.
Well, you just need to do one event and realize how much work you get done, and saying, well, that's actually a working day. So for me now in the UK, it'll be 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. But you're right, in South Africa, it was later. But you're like, right, well, I just can start my day later and I get so much work done. Why would I not do it? You're kind of forced to sit at your desk and get stuff done. So as you know, I'm a big fan of all the events and I go to them all of the time because I'm like, right, next week I want to redo some of the copy on my website. Great, I'm in an event, I can get it done. I can use that time. It's to just, make real progress and get some one-to-one attention. So
yeah, like you are, when I think about the commitment level and someone who literally dives in and follows it step by step, it's like you're a shining example of that. And it makes me happy to hear it's paying off. And so
it really is.
I'm just always in awe of you. And proud of you. I think because of the fact, like, it's even more impressive to me because you are on a different continent, compared to, not being here, not being able to come in person all the time and doing things like that. I just want to applaud you because I know it's not easy, but it also shows how this is like your life's work and your mission. And so what's next for you? Like where are you heading? What's the goal for the next year or two? And paint the picture of where we're going to see you.
So I moved back to London 6 months ago, and that in itself is going to open up lots of opportunities for me because we live right, London is one of the financial capitals of the world. So in terms of opportunities, my audience that we're talking about, they are on my doorstep. So it's now down to me to get in front of these people and see, who is looking for some sort of support in this area. So for me, I'm going to be pushing out a lot more on my speaking, just to get in front of people, and also because it's a thing that I love to do, and I'm still fairly new to it, but I'm growing in what I'm doing and enjoying it and getting good feedback. I've also, interestingly, because of the science angle coming up more and more as I'm more focused, I'm sort of breaking through the wall. I've been asked, people have heard me on podcasts talking about the science of habits and how we're bringing that into our working life. And people have been approaching me to do some consulting work, to work with their teams to help them around the science of change. So I am in this amazing city, and I am going to be able to hopefully grow my speaking. So get in front of the right people, use my expertise to do some consulting work in the corporates, and hopefully through that meet more of the sort of people that I feel that my programs can really help. But interestingly, a lot of my clients are all over the world. I've got clients in Australia and Canada, so time zones are quite tricky. And then obviously UK. So for me, it's just quite exciting to be able to work, with people from all over the world. But I've also become a stepmom to teenagers full time.
Oh my gosh.
So my life is also different. So I was thinking, like, do I need maybe I'm going to start something for new stepmothers, a group, a community, because we need help.
No. This is what all of our clients do, right? Like entrepreneurial minds or visionaries, and like, I could do this.
I'll be sticking. I will be staying focused. I know the BBG way, and I'm on track. But yes, so my life has changed a little bit from that point of view, but it's all good, new experiences, and just teaching me more about myself, which is always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, for the people out there that were like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to this woman or look at what she has going on or get coaching, whatever it might be, where do you want people to go to connect with you?
So, you could just go to LinkedIn and look for Alice Payne MD and send me a message there. But on my website, alicepaynemd.com, there are plenty of little buttons you can click just to have a call with me. The calls is very non-threatening. It's just to see, what are you working on? What are your challenges? And see if there's some way we can work together. And I always say to people, if it's not me, if I'm not the right fit, I will help you find somebody who is. So I don't bite. I'm friendly. So open to all chats.
Well, I just want to hang out and talk to you anyway, so maybe I'll just go book a call so I can spend more time with you. I'm just teasing. But yeah, y'all, if anything was sparked in you of just going, that kind of sounds like me, and I've never had a coach, or I've done therapy, is that the same thing? Or maybe I've had a coach years ago or mentor. It's like, you didn't hear this by accident, in my opinion. You heard it on purpose. And so I would just encourage you, if you have that feeling inside you, to go book a call. No harm, no foul. But other than that, is there anything else that you wanted to share, Alice? I just really appreciate you making the time and for even sharing a little bit of the techniques with us and your story and, the journey that you've had with us so far. But is there anything else you want to share?
No, just to honestly, from the bottom of my heart, to say I'm very grateful for everything that BBG has done. And I know how hard all of you work and how much you genuinely care about everybody in the community. So my life has definitely been positively impacted and changed by everybody. So very appreciative.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. All right, girl. It was so good to see you. Are you going to be in the event this week?
I am, this week and next week.
Well, I'll see you at both of them.
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right.